Have you ever looked around your home and thought, how did it all get this way? Not in a messy, chaotic kind of way, but in that quiet, weighty sense where every little pile, every untouched corner seems to carry more than just clutter. It holds tiredness, forgotten energy, maybe even a bit of sadness. The kind that sneaks up on you, slowly, gently, until one day you realize your home no longer feels like the safe, soft place it used to be. But here's the truth. No one tells us enough. Peace doesn't come from having a perfect home. It comes from simple, gentle habits done with love, done with intention, that remind us we matter, that this space matters, and that it's never too late to begin again. Today, I want to walk you through 5 of those quiet habits, ones practiced by the most grounded, peaceful women I've known. And the beautiful thing, you can start them today, right where you are, in your own pace, in your own way. I remember a morning not long ago. I was standing in the kitchen with a cup of tea, and I realized I hadn't touched the living room in days. The blanket was still tossed over the couch, a book lay face down like it had been forgotten mid-thought, and the windows were closed tight against a sunshine I hadn't noticed was missing. It wasn't that the house was a mess, it was that it no longer reflected me. It was like I had slowly become invisible, even to myself. And maybe you've felt something similar. Maybe you're carrying memories in every drawer. Maybe you've let the days blur together. Or maybe, like me, you just forgot what it felt like to walk through your home and breathe. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Let's take a closer look right now. 1. Begin with kindness, the gentle power of a made bed. You know, there's something quietly powerful about the first 5 minutes after we wake up, before the world rushes in, before the coffee brews or the news starts talking. In those first few moments, we're given a soft choice, to step into the day with intention or to let it carry us ungrounded. And for many women I know, including myself, that grounding begins with something as small and as sacred as making the bed. Now, I'll be honest, there were years when I didn't think twice about it. What's the point, I used to wonder. No one's coming over. No one will see it but me. But that's just it. It's because no one else will see it that it matters even more. Making the bed isn't for others. It's for us. It's for the woman we see in the mirror every morning, the one who's weathered storms and still rises. It's a quiet way of saying, I care about you. Let's begin with softness. I remember one winter morning, it had been a hard week, the kind where loneliness clings like fog, and everything feels just a bit too heavy. I hadn't slept much, and I woke up feeling worn before the day even began. But as I sat up, something in me said, start small. So I pulled the covers smooth, fluffed the pillow, and even straightened the little throw blanket at the foot of the bed. It took less than 2 minutes. But as I stood back and looked at that simple, neat space, I felt something shift. I felt steadier. I felt like I had done one thing right. And sometimes that's all we need to begin again. Making the bed is more than tidying up. It's claiming your space. It's reminding yourself that even when life feels messy, you can create a moment of calm. It's one of the few acts of care we do just for ourselves. No applause, no deadline, just presence. And what's truly beautiful is that it sets a tone. It whispers to you throughout the day, you deserve order, beauty, and peace. That little pocket of neatness can anchor you, especially on the days when everything else feels unpredictable. It's not about perfection. The sheets don't need to be ironed. The corners don't need to be crisp. It's the intention that matters. And here's something I've learned. When we make that small, loving choice in the morning, we carry that kindness into everything else. We're gentler with ourselves, more patient with others, and more likely to pause before letting frustration take over. A made bed becomes a message, not just to your eyes, but to your spirit. Today, I choose dignity. I choose care. I choose me. So tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone or start thinking about all the things that need doing, pause. Just a few breaths, smooth the covers, fluff the pillow. Let that simple act be the first gift you give yourself. You'll be amazed at how deeply it begins to shift the way your home feels. Not perfect, but peaceful. Not spotless, but safe. And once your bedroom holds that little island of calm, we'll take one gentle step further, into the kitchen, where even a sink can become a sanctuary. But more on that in just a moment. 2. Keep the sink smiling. Little acts of daily grace. Let me tell you something I've learned. There's a quiet kind of peace that comes from an empty sink. It might not sound like much, but for those of us who spend more time at home, the kitchen sink becomes more than just a place to wash dishes. It becomes a reflection of how we're doing inside. I remember one afternoon not too long ago, I had just made myself a little bowl of soup, the kind of lunch that fills the belly and soothes the spirit. But instead of rinsing the bowl right after, I left it in the sink. I'll get to it later, I told myself. Then the next cup joined it, and a spoon. And before I knew it, by evening, the sink was full. And so was my heart, full of that heavy, nagging feeling we get when something's out of place. That night, standing in front of the cluttered sink, I realized something. This wasn't just about dishes. It was about how easily the little things can pile up, both in our homes and in our minds, when we don't tend to them gently, in the moment. It made me think of my mother. She used to say, "The kitchen tells the truth about the home." And she was right. So I started a habit, not out of guilt or pressure, but out of kindness. After each meal or cup of tea, I'd rinse the dish, wipe the counter, and smile at that small, clear space. It took less than a minute, but it made me feel cared for. That's what organized women understand. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about touching your space with grace, one small act at a time. You don't need to scrub the whole kitchen. Just keep the sink smiling. That means rinsing a cup instead of stacking it, wiping a drip before it hardens. It's not about being spotless. It's about not letting the mess grow so loud it drowns out your calm. There's also a deep message here. When we tend to the sink, we tend to ourselves. We say, I matter, my space matters, my peace matters. And that kind of message, repeated in quiet acts of care, becomes a habit of love. Especially as we get older, when energy comes and goes, and the days can sometimes blend together, these little rituals give us rhythm, structure, and a sense of soft control. And I'll tell you this, nothing lifts a mood faster than walking into the kitchen and seeing a clean sink. It whispers to you, you've done enough, you're doing just fine. And isn't that what we all need to hear sometimes? So the next time you finish your tea or lunch, don't wait. Tend to the dish with a gentle hand. Let that be your way of saying, today I choose grace. And once the kitchen has that calm corner, we'll take our next step toward a habit that clears more than clutter. It clears your mind. We'll talk about that right after this. 3. Handle it now. Freeing yourself from clutter guilt. There was a time not too long ago when I found myself feeling weighed down, not by anything big, but by dozens of little things. A jacket on the back of the chair, a newspaper half read on the kitchen table, that coffee cup I meant to rinse. They didn't seem like much on their own, but day after day, those small things started to speak louder, not in words, of course, but in feelings. Feelings of guilt, of I should have, of why didn't I just put that away when I had the chance? One morning, I remember looking around and saying out loud to no one in particular, how did this get so out of hand? That's when it hit me. It didn't happen all at once. It happened in tiny moments when I told myself, I'll deal with that later. And later always turned into tomorrow. And tomorrow turned into tension. You see, clutter isn't just physical. It's emotional. Every item left out becomes a little reminder, a little weight on our minds. And as we get older, that weight feels heavier, not just because of our bodies, but because of our hearts. We want calm, not chaos. We want space that soothes us, not nags us. That's when I started something small but life-changing. I made a quiet promise to myself. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. just that. If I finished using something, I'd guide it gently back to its home. Not rush, not scold myself, just tend to it with care. Fold the blanket after reading. Hang the sweater instead of tossing it on the chair. Wash the mug when the tea is gone. And you know what happened? The clutter stopped growing. The guilt began to fade. And most importantly, my home started to feel lighter, more breathable. I realized that I wasn't cleaning. I was honoring my space. I was freeing myself from the noise of procrastination. This doesn't mean you have to tackle everything. There are still days when I leave something for later. And that's all right. We're not aiming for perfection, we're aiming for peace. The kind of peace that comes from not carrying a mental list of unfinished things wherever you go. So if you've been walking past the same little mess thinking, I should get to that, maybe today's the day you do. Not out of pressure, but out of kindness. Because you deserve a space that doesn't make you feel behind. You deserve a space that says, welcome home. And once you begin choosing small moments of completion over delay, something beautiful happens. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust, that sense of calm, will carry us to our next simple truth. One, about what you let your eyes and your heart rest on each day. Let's explore that together. 4, choose what you see, the beauty of simplicity. I used to think a full house meant a warm house, that every corner needed to be decorated, every shelf filled, every space reminding me of something or someone I loved. And maybe for a while, it did bring comfort. Those souvenirs from trips, the birthday cards still standing on the mantle, the little baskets filled with who knows what but too sentimental to throw away. But one afternoon I was sitting in my favorite chair with a cup of tea, and I looked around the room. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just noticing. And what I noticed surprised me. I didn't feel calm. I felt distracted, heavy, almost. Not because something was wrong, but because everything was too loud, too present. There was nowhere for my eyes to rest. That's when I realized something that changed the way I saw my home and myself. What we see around us shapes what we feel inside us. And if we're constantly surrounded by clutter, even meaningful clutter, it's hard to find peace. So I began with one little space. Just one. The small table beside my chair. I cleared off the piles of mail, the half-used notepad, the candle that had burned down months ago. I wiped it clean, slowly, almost like a ritual. Then I placed one small lamp and one photo, an old black and white of Tom and me at the fairgrounds in '78. I remember the moment it was taken. He was laughing, and I was trying not to squint in the sun. I put it there and left it at that. That night, the room felt different, lighter. When I passed by that table, I didn't feel the usual mental to-do list pressing down on me. I felt something like exhale, a sense of stillness I hadn't realized I was craving. You see, simplicity isn't about being bare or cold. It's about clarity. It's choosing what you want to feel and gently removing what gets in the way. And for those of us in the later chapters of life, that clarity becomes even more precious. We carry so many memories, so many tokens of love in years gone by, but if everything is out at once, nothing can breathe. Nothing stands out. Sometimes we hold on to things because we're afraid that if we let them go, we'll lose the memory, the connection, the meaning. But memories don't live in objects. They live in us. And when we're brave enough to let the clutter rest, we actually make more space for those memories to rise naturally, in a quiet moment, in a familiar smell, in the warmth of sunlight hitting the floor just right. You might be wondering, but where do I start? Start small. One surface. Maybe it's your kitchen counter or the shelf by your front door. Ask yourself gently, do I love what I see here? Does this make me feel calm If the answer is no, consider setting it aside, not throwing it away unless you're ready, just tucking it out of sight. Let your space breathe. And when you do, something beautiful begins to happen. Your home starts to feel like a retreat, not a storage unit, a sanctuary, not a showroom, and most importantly, a reflection of who you are today, not just who you were. For me, that one cleared table led to another. I found myself putting away the stack of magazines I'd been meaning to read for 3 years. I chose one favorite cookbook to display in the kitchen instead of 5. I even made space on my nightstand for just a lamp, a journal, and a bottle of lavender oil. Because those are the things that help me rest. There's freedom in less. Not less love, not less history, but less visual weight. It's like lifting a layer of noise from your environment so your heart and mind can settle more easily. And here's the thing. When you choose what you see, you're really choosing how you want to feel. It's a daily kindness you offer yourself, a way of saying, my peace matters, my comfort matters. And that's not selfish, that's sacred. So as we move into the evening rhythm of our day, let's think about how we end it, with gentleness, with grace, and with love. Because a peaceful night doesn't begin at bedtime. It begins with intention. And a home that says goodnight with care is a home that welcomes you back every morning with open arms. Let's talk about that next. 5. Close the day softly. A gentle goodnight to your home. There's something special about the quiet hours before bedtime. The world outside grows dim. The air cools. And everything begins to settle. It's in those gentle moments, when the television is turned off, when the dishes are done, when the phone finally rests, that we have a small but powerful choice to make. We can simply stumble into bed, exhausted and scattered, or we can pause and close the day with intention, with kindness. Years ago, I started a habit that changed how I end each day. Nothing grand, nothing complicated, just a 5-minute walk through my home. I fluff a pillow on the couch, fold the throw blanket, rinse one last teacup left by the sink, turn off the lamps one by one. And as I do, I whisper to myself, not with words, but with presence, thank you for today. Thank you, home, for holding me. You might think, isn't that just cleaning? But it's more than that. It's a ritual, a way to say goodnight to the space that carried you, comforted you, protected you through all the little ups and downs of the day. And for women like us, who've spent decades caring for others, creating a soft landing for ourselves is not only healing, it's deeply deserved. There's a kind of peace that comes when your home doesn't feel like a list of chores, but a trusted friend. And when we tend to it gently in the evening, it begins to tend to us in return. Imagine waking up in the morning to a home that feels welcoming instead of chaotic, a room that greets you with softness, a table that invites you to breathe instead of reminding you of yesterday's mess. It's not about making everything perfect. It's about offering yourself something peaceful to return to. One small corner, one quiet moment, one simple action. Maybe for you, it's lighting a candle before bed, or wiping down the kitchen counter with slow, steady hands. Maybe it's placing your slippers neatly by the door so that in the morning your feet step into warmth instead of clutter. And here's the deeper truth. When we close the day softly, we're also preparing our minds for rest. We're saying, I've done enough. Not everything is done, but what I could do today, I did with care. That kind of closure is powerful, especially when the world outside often moves too fast and demands too much. So tonight, before you go to bed, take just a few minutes to walk through your space. Don't do it with pressure. Do it with love. Touch the surfaces with gratitude. Dim the lights gently. Breathe in the quiet, and let your home breathe with you. This soft rhythm, repeated night after night, becomes more than a habit. It becomes a sanctuary. And as we begin to close the day, let's talk about one last gift we can offer ourselves, not just through things or routines, but through the gentle energy we invite in. Because a home that ends the day with calm begins the next one with hope. Let's explore that together in the next part. You don't need perfection, just one gentle step. If there's one thing I hope you carry with you from this time we've shared, it's this. You don't need perfection. You never did. You don't need a spotless home or a rigid routine to feel at peace. What you need, what we all need, is just one gentle step in the right direction. One act of kindness toward yourself. One moment of choosing care over chaos. You might not feel like doing it all today, and that's all right. Maybe you're tired. Maybe your heart is heavy. But maybe, just maybe, you could straighten the blankets on your bed. Or rinse that one teacup in the sink. Or take a deep breath at the window and let in a bit of fresh air. These aren't chores. They're small love letters to your future self. Quiet ways of saying, you matter, this moment matters. And the beauty is, once you take that first gentle step, the next one comes easier. You begin to feel your space change and your heart softens with it. So don't wait for the perfect day to begin. Start with where you are, with what you have. That's more than enough. And if today's message brought you comfort, I'd love to know, what is one small habit that brings you peace? Please share it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear. And if you'd like more moments like this, I invite you to subscribe and walk with us again. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think.